make sure. So 10:01, let's call this meeting to order, and Greg, if you can go ahead and take roll call if you haven't already done so.
I'm already
Done?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So do we have any public comment? No?
That's why I'm here
Okay,
for
great.
a short few minutes. Thank you for a couple of minutes. Two things, spokesman for the stakeholders at Heritage Park over there by the railroad track. We are extending a hand and saying we have similar goals and objectives, especially for the economy, and we would like to strengthen our collaboration with SCCIA and events that are coming up and fundraising and all of that. So I'm just here to say that. Secondly, Sophie Rome from the city of Salinas is organizing a Salinas celebration, which she hopes to do annually. There'll be an event at the Intermodal Transit Center on June 7th. So I sent Greg the invitation to participate in that planning. One thing we don't want to do is have our events collide with each other and not work well. So that is
It's on my calendar.
good. So that's the extent of it.
Great. Well, thanks, Denise. So the first thing that we're going to go over for it's the consent agenda for general business. And so let's see here what we got going on for our consent agenda. We'll be going over Greg.
Financials.
Minutes from February 2025.
Yep.
And does anybody have any comments, questions, or notes about the minutes from February? Public comment? Okay, can we have a motion to pass the minutes for second? All in
Do you
favor?
want, sorry to interrupt, do you want to take them as minutes and financials at the same time, or do you want to do them separately?
So the consent agenda has them together, right? Is that
Correct.
the
You
So
idea?
let's-
you have the option to do it at the same time if you want to.
Okay, then we'll do them at the same time if you don't mind. Well, let's go ahead and do that. So any questions or comments about the February minutes? Seeing none, we're gonna go ahead and go to the financial report for February of 2025. Greg, you wanna chime in here? Make any comments?
There was a correction that was made on some with DISI. That's really it. There was some, couple expenses that were put under.
Did you start
It
raining
had to
again?
run together actually. There were some expenses that were put under streetscape improvements that should have been distributed to Denny. Other than that, no change.
No change, okay, great. So, public comment? Okay, so if I can get a motion?
So moved. Okay.
Great, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. The next item up would be presentation and updates. So review from the president. Audrey sent out the bylaws to everybody, and what she's looking for is for everybody to read, give edits, and then at the next meeting, we'll be giving feedback on those. So that is what Audrey wanted to discuss
Who
today.
made these edits? Was this from?
Mattoni.
Mattoni.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do we know,
Hi.
do we know what the edits were? Now, I have the bylaws of 2016, February 15, 2016, is that the one?
So there
And
was,
what the updates were?
so yeah, so they're redlined and,
It was sent out in the past.
So, yes,
I
it's
printed the wrong one.
No,
Okay,
can I clarify?
yeah,
So what I did is the version that I initially put on the email that you printed out
Right.
is where the edits are already incorporated. It didn't do this where it
Right.
redlined and underlined. The new link that I sent out yesterday does show this. So if you guys want, I can go over them, or you can re-download your
How many are there?
I can print the new one.
well, and what it
Lisa
is,
doesn't.
Yeah, I didn't know there was an
Yeah,
update
there's-
yesterday.
and we're not gonna vote on anything on this today anyway. This is just so that everybody knows this, there was red line stuff that sent out. We want everybody to read it, and then make their comments so that we can actually discuss
Yeah,
this the next meeting.
understood, I just didn't know what the changes were.
Yeah,
Perfect.
yeah.
Yeah,
So,
so that's a new language.
So the email, I sent out
Second
email
link.
yesterday at
Okay.
like 4:30, 4:45. I know, right?
It's the same one posted on the website, that's how I got it.
That is correct.
Okay.
On the
That is
website,
correct.
get the minutes or the
Yeah.
package.
Correct.
Follow that link.
But I know we won't vote today, but Greg, could you give us some general
Yes.
overview of like with what lens did Manatoni make
Yeah,
suggestions?
so the main thing was the bylaws were kind of boilerplate and they weren't necessarily specialized to our organization. There's a few things that were restrictive and he wanted to clarify and or loosen up some of the terms. For example, we have to physically mail our board nominations every year. We have to physically mail them. We have no option to digitally send them to people if we have their information. So that is now an option, or that would be an edit that he made where we can physically mail them or send the email if appropriate. Let's see, there's a few, let's see, on page 1, there's an address change where that he crossed out. On page 2, he's suggesting changing the minimum number of board members from 9 to 7, just in case, because we've had some difficulty in finding, proper candidates. On page 3, there is a,
It was, so that a property owner can then have a representative, an employee, an attorney, an accountant, something that who they want to have as their representative, rather than if the property owner can't be here.
and so it's just streamlining the language, saying that there on page 4, there's a whole new section that he's including where the nominating committee can report their findings to the board. On page 7, there is just clarification in language for people that are no-shows in the meeting, where it's easier to either, remove them if they're just not inclusive or participating in all the meetings. So just clarification of language on that one. On page 8 is where it talks about email versus physical notices for the board nominations. Page 10, we are changing the annual meeting to the first month of November versus the first month of April. For the last 2 years, we've been doing it in November, so it just clarifies that date change. He's striking some words on page 10 as well for regular meetings and where the meetings are held by resolution. He's striking that word so we can just make that change. Let's see. On the page 12 for closed sessions, striking some sections where we are. It basically lists the entire government code, and I don't think that's needed. Page 13, telephonic participation is no longer allowed anyway, so we're removing that entire section. On 14. It's clarifying language before you're eligible for a officer position instead of a director. So it's removing the 2-year requirement.
Greg, excuse me.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned the telephonic. Does that preclude Zoom for
Yeah.
land use?
Oh, no, that's an ad hoc committee, and ad hoc committees are allowed to do whatever
Okay.
meetings we want.
All right, thank you.
This is just for standing committees and the actual board meeting. So.
All right, I got it.
And because we're not allowed to vote through Zoom anymore, even for emergency meetings, it has to be in person.
Okay.
And that went away with the end of the COVID restrictions of March of last year, if I recall. And then, let's see.
Page 16.
Page 16 and 17, he just has some comments and questions. Why do we have an executive committee if we're meeting every month anyway? So things like that. So lots of little clarifications, but the latest version is on the website on the link from this agenda. And if you're having issues or problems with that, let me know and I can just email it to you directly and you just have it.
Thank you very much.
I know that you discussed the financials. Do you have a report for us from the treasurer, anything that you want to change?
I don't think so. We're gonna vote on the end of the day here. I can argue with that when we get to that.
Okay, great. Report from Greg, our district coordinator.
Lots of little meetings, lots of behind the scenes stuff, still trying to coordinate, banners with Salinas Unified, had a meeting yesterday with Hope Services and with Katie as well, talking about some public art. Mostly just normal, everyday dealings that we've been working with. So during SOBO, we can mention the block captains and
The requests.
things like that.
Okay.
But other than that, just regular paperwork. I am working on the annual report. I'm updating a lot of the documentation and numbers from various sources. So our annual report is due on April 30th. So I will send out a draft ASAP for you guys to review, and I think we need to vote on that by our next meeting, which is April 10th. So you guys can say yay or nay, finalize with these edits, and I can submit.
Great. Public comment?
Appreciate it.
Actually, one question.
Sure.
Greg, have you had problems or seen people starting fires?
Oh, yes. Yes.
We have one guy who seems to want to start a fire every morning about 5 o'clock.
Oh, lovely.
I have pictures that I can send you.
Please. Yeah. So, sorry to follow up on that, because I know you've had issues with Sam.
Sam.
And a few other issues. I have a video of a gentleman just shooting up and nightlight behind 201 Main, which was wonderful. I have invited the police chief to attend one of our meetings because I know you guys all wanted to see what the police is doing. So we're trying to get on his agenda or his calendar match with ours. But I have a folder on my computer of just incidents this year. But if you guys have stuff, transients, graffiti, vandalism, or anything like that, just please email it to me or send it to me or whatever, and I will compile this list and just hand a packet over to whoever.
You got the one that my brother's building was
I don't have any
torn up
images
by
or
an
anything,
elevator,
but
his elevator.
Do you have any pictures or videos or anything like
Oh
that?
yeah, I took all kinds of pictures.
You want
That
to?
guy went in there with a baseball bat and just busted the hell out of his elevator controls.
Yeah.
I mean, it's $20,000 minimum
Mhm.
because it's a really old elevator. He broke a cast iron housing over the motor. I couldn't believe what he hit it with, but I mean, this thing was almost a half an inch thick.
So yeah, whatever.
So that guy went to jail, fortunately. But there's a bunch more, you know. Sam, she needs to go to jail.
Yeah, she was standing on the
I
corner.
mean, how many times did she light a fire in my building? And I call the cops and I tell them, they know who it is. I gave them pictures. She's still on the street.
Yeah, those are updates that the police needs to work with or deal with.
We gotta get this.
With the police chief.
I think
Yes.
since, like, we brought this up at the moment, and Greg also attends the GRC meetings ran through the Chamber of Commerce, this is not a specific issue that's only downtown. Even though there's people from all parts of the community, Greg participating with the GRC and several other stakeholders throughout our city. So this was brought up yesterday by Greg. And so now the chambers as well are gonna be discussing these vandalism and other issues throughout the entire city. As far south as our ag offices on Abbott Street, Northridge Mall, I know that there's some many issues that many people are having. So just so you're all aware, the chamber and Colleen can maybe even comment that we're on board and the chamber's going to be working on this as well.
Your incidents, where, is that in the back alley?
I've had them in the back alley, although I don't have that on film. I do have them in front of the King's Den. under that little
Yeah.
alcove.
Uh-huh.
Now, at least he's very tidy, he clean, well, it's a he, because I've seen the video. It's a very tidy, cleans up his box, but you can see the scorch mark, and of course I have a video of the fire, so. Yeah. Some of the guys are not, folks are not so tidy, they leave there.
And what time, is that 11 o'clock?
No,
1 a.m.?
5 a.m.
5 a.m. But there are guards that are from our buildings that are supposed to be maneuvering down the blocks. So I'll check in with
Yeah,
them.
I mean, my concern obviously is, our building's old and
Yes.
it would go up to a match. So,
Yeah. Okay.
and we have apartments, so that would be very bad.
Is it sprinklered by chance? Probably not.
No. And it's called the Wilson Building because I think Wilson might have been president. That's not why it's called the Wilson Building, but it's early 30s, so no sprinklers. And I've looked at sprinkling it. Yeah, that doesn't pencil.
It's enormous cost, yeah.
Okay, so we'll need a motion to
No
move on
motion.
the presentations and updates, right? No motion?
No
Okay.
motion needed.
Okay, so the next thing that we're gonna discuss are updates from our ad hoc committees. So I don't know if anybody has anything on DISI that they can report?
Yeah, I can.
Thank you.
Know where everyone can, I have some videos again on my computer. The easiest place to show you guys would be. So our Live, Work, Play campaign that we talked about when I was here in December is getting close to like the final stages and launching on Google with our $10,000 grant to put towards this campaign. I showed you guys one video with Reno DiTullio. I have some more videos if you guys want to see them. Let's see.
Can you just send us the link? It's probably easier
Yeah.
than trying to do that in this room.
They're not 100% finalized, but this is like where we're at. So.
And I'm sorry, going forward, if we had prep, we could probably figure
I
out
know,
how to decide
sorry.
on the screen there.
I just have to get myself here earlier than, okay.
Where life happens. Whether you're living, working, dining, shopping, or just having fun, downtown Salinas is the place to be. Work, live, play in Salinas City Center.
So that's our 15-second one. We have a 45-second, a 30-second, and those will be Google ad campaigns. And yes, we can definitely email out the link once everything's finalized.
Yeah, because we have TVs in our lobby and we can actually run
Oh,
those.
that's a good idea. I love that. Yeah, anyone who wants to can do that too. And then after we wrap up these Google ad campaigns, we're gonna do some more focused videos of specific businesses downtown. And those will run, they might also be a part of the Google ad campaign, but they're mainly gonna be for social media. And I have a couple examples. Here's one. This is the dog
Hi,
groomers.
my name is Dee and Priscilla, and we are the owners of Central Parks. Central Parks has been in business since 2019. Downtown was already beautiful. How the architecture was here at that time, that just is what drew us to looking for a location here. And so when we found something that was open, it was just meant to be at that time. I love seeing all the new businesses that are coming together. Love seeing how it's becoming so open and, just accepting of everybody right now. On the weekends, it's always busy. I love seeing how there's a market here. I love seeing how just people are walking around and just enjoying their time.
Honestly, ever since we've been here, a lot of people started to bringing their dogs out a lot more. So it ended up becoming not just the people friendly, but also dog friendly as well.
Yes, definitely becoming dog friendly is nice. Since opening, we've seen a handful of the shop dogs that people have here in their location. We definitely love seeing all of the community's dogs come and visit us. Seeing all of the sign going up, seeing, just like Alvarado, just different types of businesses that are opening up is really nice too. Some of our favorite spots to hit here are, I'm always going over to Head Over Heels and Bliss. We also are regulars of coffee shops here. We see the Cherry Bean, Bearded Bee, or Starbucks. There's, whichever one we want to go to that day. We always love hitting those spots. Or, we'll grab lunch at Dufford. So we're definitely love seeing everybody's businesses.
So we'll do a few of those too, highlighting specific businesses for
That's a
social.
great
That's
little
great.
business. I
Yeah.
love that business.
Sure loud though.
I took my dog there now because they're DISI. You just
DISI's
walk-
right there.
Yeah.
You don't
Yeah.
have to listen to those dogs bark all day.
And it smells like dog in there.
No, I mean, I literally can hear the dogs bark.
Through the walls.
Oh, no way.
All day long.
Yeah.
Okay.
You don't hear them at 11 o'clock or 1 a.m.?
I do in my dreams.
I have one quick question. I love
Yes.
the video. I think it's awesome.
Yes.
But which businesses or how was the selection made of the
So
business
we
to highlight?
sent out DMs on social media, emails. Greg walked into businesses. We asked everyone who wants to be involved. The people who responded, we spent 2.5 full days going around videoing, doing clips. So, and then from there, it's kind of, we asked questions. We videoed them in an interview style. That's how we got them to talk. And we're kind of pulling the best content from those interviews.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we threw it out to as many people as possible. And then we also have a big ad campaign running in Edible Monterey Bay, which Greg brought some copies. And this is a new campaign for us that we've never done before. And we just wanted to try something out that's gonna really promote the dining scene in downtown. Our ad is right in the middle, so if you kind of flip to it, you'll feel that right there where the pullout is. Perfect. And it includes a tear out of a guide to dining in downtown with all of the restaurants, bakeries, breweries, and bars listed. So this map can pull out and people can save that. We're gonna run 4 full-page ads like you see here, rotating the pictures of which restaurants and breweries, bakeries, and bars that we feature. It's a quarterly magazine. It goes to their distribution is about 25,000 between the Tri-County. This is their spring issue. This is the first one we ran with them. Then on top of the pull-out map that you see here, we have extra copies that we are in the process of distributing right now. And I have a huge list of that. So it's gonna be at the Monterey Airport, the Salinas Airport, Del Monte Aviation, Marina Skydive, Monterey Zoo, Laguna Seca, National Steinbeck Center, all the visitor centers in the Tri-County, the Salinas Train Station, Casa de Fruta, Adventures by the Sea, Monterey Fairgrounds, my museum, Cabana Holiday Resort, Salinas Campground, Naval Postgraduate School, Navy Housing, Enterprise Car Rental, all Salinas hotels, all chamber offices, and more. We'll have a brochure in those like racks in lobbies.
We'll have one of these in the rack?
Just the brochure.
Oh.
Just the brochure.
Okay.
So Edible distributes their magazine to how they do it. But so we'll have those out for the next 6 months. Yeah, and it's a map of downtown, and then kind of says what the name of all the restaurants are with their website or their Instagram handle, so people can look them up.
Map is fun. Well
Yeah,
done.
something different, like this is
Well
a
done.
brand new thing. And we also
Yeah.
have this map on our website and linked in our Instagram. People have already started to receive it through the Edible because people have been sharing it, which is kind of fun to see that. And people are liking it, it's getting good feedback. And then additionally, we are just launching Salinas City Center Bingo. So, here's an example. This is an example, or are you playing?
No, that's what I
So if you
was
go
testing my stamps.
Oh, okay. Like maybe you're playing. I don't know. If you go
I'm gonna
places, you get the stamp. So we have 2 different versions in order to include as many people as possible. And if you go to XL Public House, you get it stamped. If you go to Burrito King, you get it stamped. And then when you have bingo, you turn it into Greg. You can either email him a photo or drop it into Midtown Lane and he'll check randomly. And then we're gonna do drawings from there. 4 drawings a year for $200 worth of gift cards to downtown, which we will purchase the gift cards. We're not gonna ask people to donate them. So we'll go buy a gift card to like Maya Cinema, Heirloom Pizza, and that will be the gift for people who participate in that. And then we will promote this through social media. We'll launch it on Instagram, Facebook. We'll send it out in an email blast, and you can pick up your card at any of the coffee shops downtown.
That's great.
We have that going too. So some fun things in the works, and hopefully getting lots of visibility. downtown. Yes,
So I've got, this is an image of the arch, which is great, it's incomplete.
I know.
So I've got professional photos of that. if
I would
you'd
love
like
one.
that.
Yes, because we hired a photographer and they didn't capture a good hero shot, so I would love to see what you have. So yeah, that would be great. And then this one we have Heirloom, Alvarado, and Carnival featured. And we've already reached out to like Portobello's, Patria, because we want to show a variety of food. So sushi dorama, just to show like there's literally everything down here. So yes, check that. Yeah. So any other questions about?
So this is a quarterly magazine?
Yeah. So we'll have 4 full-page ads. This is the
Okay.
first one.
Got it.
We've
For
had,
the course of 1 year.
we've had restaurants in it over the last couple of years. Salinas downtown restaurants.
Yeah, so a lot of people advertise on their own. I think Alvarado might be one of those that advertise on their own. But since we launched this campaign, because it is like a pretty large campaign with them, they have already started writing articles also about Salinas. So they did one on Patria, and then they did one on the new restaurant on the 100 block. Diabla.
The devil.
Oh, yeah.
Diabla. So they wrote one about that. So because we're advertising with them, they're already starting to give more love to Salinas and like writing about places down here. And then we're gonna do, every time that they come out with their magazine, they do a launch party, and one of their advertisers gets to host the launch party. So obviously we aren't a location to host it, so we're gonna throw it out to some of our restaurants that are large enough, like Heirloom and Portobello's with the patio, and see who wants to host it. For us as the advertiser, we'll extend that to our restaurant. And that will bring at least like 200 people to that location for the launch party. And they invite all their advertisers, they invite people from all over the peninsula. And then the hope is the party's like 5 to 7 and it's just light bites. So hopefully those 200 people will stay downtown and they'll have this dining guide and they can figure out where they want to go from there and they'll discover some new places while they're here. So, yeah.
So this is a pretty big outlay in terms of advertising
Yeah.
for us, and it is gonna be somewhat hard, I think, to measure ROI,
Yeah.
because this is just hearts and minds and more exposures to people. But hopefully, it's gonna make a difference to some of the establishments in town and you know, draw more visibility.
Yeah, we do have, so on this particular one, the map was included, but moving forward, we have like a picture of the guide with a QR code. So we will be able to track if people are downloading, going to the QR code to see the dining guide. We'll be able to track that, but we can't really track like that someone saw this and was like, ooh, that burger looks great, I'm going to Alvarado tonight.
Yeah.
So, but it's a great branding opportunity for Salinas City Center and just great visibility for all the restaurants down here, all the eateries, so. Yeah. So,
Thank you.
yeah, thank you.
Good.
Good job.
Good job.
I think we need to highlight too, we're doing in partnership with the chamber,
Yes.
the mural. We're gonna have the ribbon cutting coming up, I believe this next week.
20th.
So it would be really great to see everybody down there. The Fox Theater, it's on the back of the Fox Theater, and it's beautiful, so
Is
it's
it at
really
5
great.
o'clock?
Something like that, yeah. I have to
Yeah.
double check. Invites will go out very soon.
Yeah.
That's another thing that we'll send out through an email blast as well. And we have it on social media, but we'll email it out to our following as well.
And then Jenna is also working with, we need to refresh some of our banners because
Yes.
the winds have done a number on them. So the one right across from, you know, by Brothers Building on Governors.
Blowing in the wind.
I've got an order in to get it removed, but our vendor is very busy for some reason. They have a very big project in March, so they're getting to it as soon as they can. There's another one in the parking lot behind, next to PAL, on the other side of Salinas Street. But Jenna's working on we requested quotes and installation, et cetera, for about 20 banners that will highlight the live, work, play with a
Yeah, we're
slight.
gonna refresh the design.
Yeah, we're gonna refresh the design and drop about 20 banners we're looking at into all of the parking lots. So we can differentiate between what's on the street and what's on the parking lots, because we've blown through about 20 banners in the last year or two in terms of damage. And that's about it for banners, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just refreshing the big rectangles, not the triangles on Main.
Great, we have SOBO will be next. Greg, do you wanna maybe like let everybody know what's happening, people's response to their block captains?
Yeah, so, we've been talking about the block captain thing now for the better part of a year. And there is a submission form that I've sent to every block captain and, or an email address they can send stuff to. And it goes into my pseudo ticketing system, if you wanna call it that. And it allows me to assign tasks. Right now I'm just getting the assignments and I'm pushing them out to our guards and or maintenance people. But Bobcat's putting in a lot of requests because they get a lot of trash buildup in the back of their alley. I've received several phone calls from cooks because they have the same problem with all their trash cans in the back alley. Tina actually sends me a lot of updates when she goes for walks. So and all those pictures and all those things are in 3 different categories, received, assigned, and completed. Not a whole lot is happening in Zone 2 in terms of submissions, mostly Zone 1, and so far probably about 5 emailed submissions and then a few phone calls that we just take care of. So it's slowly getting traction, but it is getting things tackled that we don't see ourselves right away. So.
Hanging pots look really good.
I'm sorry?
The hanging pots look good.
Well, they're getting a lot of water, and we actually need to, that's a whole different story, but we were supposed to have a meeting this morning, but...
It's too wet.
Yeah, wet, and Audrey wasn't here either, so... But the geraniums, we've thought about different plants, but really the geraniums are probably ideal in terms of how hardy they are and how easy they are to maintain. But they have been there now for, 4 years? And so the root ball is getting pretty big and impacted, and we need to replace them.
That's going to be fairly expensive.
Yes, it is. But if you divide it out by how many pots we have, I think we have 10 poles, 2 pots per pole, so that's 20 pots. Like it's not that bad, but yeah, it is going to be several $1,000s in terms of labor, taking them down. We're probably going to drop them a little bit. Because they're very, very high, and give them like a 2 or 3 foot extension to kind of just lower them a little bit. And so that's, it's on the docket, but we keep pushing this meeting back.
Yeah, this is the 3rd time we pushed it, so we'll continue working on that for sure.
Yeah. And then security-wise, our usual suspects, we are seeing a large influx of transient behavior. I don't know where that's coming from. I think it is sweep in one area a couple of weeks ago, and they're just sort of filtering through some of our usual faces. We are dealing with a lot of fires and just mess or ashes and remains of fires. I've got Damien. Damien is nearly daily. He's going on to 242.5 Main Street because that is a great little alcove to crawl into, where it's very narrow and very deep. And they experience some vandalism with broken windows, and Sam actually just likes to camp out there and burn stuff.
It's crazy.
And then and Steve sent me a picture yesterday of one of our regulars, Joseph, and he was laid out, it was 2 days ago. He was laid out in front of McWhorter's. So Roger is very fast at getting on top of that, and getting those people to move on and see if they need anything.
Are you keeping a file of that? I mean, if we look back and we name an incident and a date and to demonstrate what's happening.
Not that detailed. I don't have
So if you got an image, I mean, it's just you save it in a file or folder someplace.
Yes, and I have that because we have a group thread, a group chat between security and our maintenance staff. And I'm downloading all of the pictures and things, and for example, there was one person who has mental issues this morning, and we're kind of tracking her as she's walking from the 1 to the 300 block, and she probably will get a phone call from the PD
So
for
I think
5150.
we're going to be advocating for some additional protection, police protection. I think it's good if we set this base and we're able to present what the needs are here, so it's not just anecdotal.
No, I have, like I said, I have this whole folder categorized by transient, graffiti, vandalism, et cetera, based and time coded. So I am keeping track of it.
And the one other thing I wanted to bring up is the Travelers Hotel is now housing a number of, I don't want to call them homeless because these are not good people. They're using drugs, alcohol in the parking lot. My tenant who has the bakery station is afraid to go out and tell them to leave because she's afraid of retaliation. This is just not good, and I don't know who is subsidizing this activity. Somebody's paying for these people to be staying in the Travelers.
And I'm trying to find out,
I am too.
and I haven't received any answers yet.
Yeah.
So I put in a request.
You going to the owner?
Maybe Wes.
They're not going to respond.
I can help investigate, sure.
So I don't know which organization or what entity is footing the bill, but somebody is, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind people getting taken care of if they're downright homeless and they're, decent law-abiding people, but these people are not. They're anything but, and,
And I think
I don't know how this happens in our downtown. It's crazy.
according to the EDE, it's not supposed to happen downtown, homeless services, right?
Well, let me read it, I just happen to have a list here.
Yes.
I figured you would.
You go, Pete.
It says, enact policies and focus programs on homeless services center outside of downtown so the homeless do not panhandle or threaten Old Town customers and employees. That's action item LU 1.3.3. It's also in the vibrancy plan.
So, there you go.
And if you recall, there is a KSBW tape of the pastor at the church saying he would move his services to the county facility once they're open. That's a KSBW tape. Anyway.
Our city council representatives here.
Yeah, sorry, I'm like, everybody's talking. So this is Margaret.
I keep sneaking out making phone calls, sorry.
Oh, that's okay, she's our District 3 city council member. Thank you for taking the time to come
Of course.
downtown and participate in our meeting today.
Well, I'm assigned to your committee. I'm here to watch over and listen and take information back and see what I can do to help. And I've been taking notes about all the police activity that should be happening down here, so I'll definitely report back to Chief Acosta. He wants to be involved in all this. He's very community oriented, extremely. So he would be, I think, appalled to know that this is all going on, and he wants to respond to all of it. So.
And I'm coordinating with his assistant to set up a
Perfect.
meeting for him to come down.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, so
I know
we're already,
he's,
it's in progress.
Okay, yeah, he's very accessible. So you may have to maybe a special meeting or something like that, but he really wants to be involved, and he wants to know what's happening in, throughout the city, so. We got a really good police force, so, we should utilize our talents.
I think number one on our list today is
Uh-huh.
the Travelers Hotel,
Yes,
because that just has happened in, the last month?
Last 3 months or so.
yeah, I
maybe
heard
3
bad
months,
things about that.
Yeah.
And for you newer board folks, Margaret served on our board here back a few years ago.
Just a few years ago.
You'll see at the end of we were talking about bylaws, the bylaws from 2016 were signed by Margaret, Secretary Margaret.
Yay!
Yeah, I saw that earlier. Yeah. Thank you again for being here.
Absolutely, I'm here to support you guys, 100%.
We're gonna, is there anything else about SOBO that we need to discuss, or?
We're just trying to stay on top of all the trash and all the potential vagrancy and transient activities.
Great.
Like whack-a-mole. Whack-a-mole.
Is your meeting you're trying to set up, I'm assuming, is with Smith and Enright for the hanging plants?
It's not a Smith and Enright coordinating issue. They've sent us a quote.
Okay.
It's an us coordinating issue.
Yeah. We're just coordinating, we were meant to meet with Audrey, and last time it was pouring, and this happened to be today. We were gonna meet right before we came here, and then she couldn't make it.
There was talk of also redoing some of the
Correct.
landscaped areas.
Yeah.
Is that also being discussed?
Yes.
It's on our agenda to discuss that, and the
Okay.
hanging plants, and then also some pots that are back of the alleyway, so there's,
All of that?
Yeah.
yes.
Okay, good.
That's about it, yeah. That's what we're gonna talk about, Smith and Enright.
All right, let's go to the land use committee Jason's not here, I don't know if anybody else can report on land use. If not, we'll,
I can.
Guthrie.
So you remember our early meeting, one of our first meetings, that Audrey put on a list of priorities that we should be advocating for. And the LU committee was assigned the task of recasting that with references to EDE or other policy issues. So they have done that. And I wish you'd had a written copy, but I can just sort of read it in the records, just 6 items at this point. And it addressed all of the draft ones that Audrey presented, except that we would be getting into selling properties or marketing properties, because it's just not our role to do that, they're professionals. So real quick, the first one is increase the ratio of police officers to residents to 1 per less than 1,000. That's EDE action QL, quality of life 1.1.2. And then it quotes the chief that there are like 31 vacancies right now, so we're very far short of that. Number 2 would be to support private sector and community stakeholder efforts to contribute time, intellectual capital, and sponsor studies to support the EDE, which is the result of such community engagement. Citing parking district analysis, new sign ordinance, and permit streamlining, all which we have already proposed. Number 3 is implement a parking district, create parking meter zones or parking benefit district for the area to finance improvements in structured parking in the downtown. I won't cite but that's also in the vibrancy plan. Next is promote development of consolidated government center. That deals with the old police station that was on the first list presented by Audrey. 5 is partner with the Heritage Center and support planning, improving marketing, and signing historic assets, and encourage public art. So these are all referenced back to the economic development element, which at this point maybe the city is working to eliminate the economic development element. So the economic development, if you've ever seen it, is like 2 volumes about this thick. This is the current economic development element in the city's update, so-called update. So I can elaborate on this a little bit if you're interested, which explains why this got so skinny. Is that all right?
I think you should.
So what they've done is the economic development element was broken down into goals, policies, and tasks. And the tasks were very specific. This is how you do these things. So, for example, an analogy, if you said, we want to travel more, it would then go into the task, which would be save an extra 5%, look at your schedule, do your research, get your passport, make your arrangements, get a ride to the airport, fly to Rome. Okay? And the cities just says, travel more, with none of that. So here's an actual example. So they've got an ED update, they call it update quote, encourage workforce training programs focused, I'm sorry, that's the wrong one. It states increase zoning flexibility to accommodate diverse business needs and spur innovation through zoning code update. That's it, okay? The EDE says, as a policy, increase the flexibility of zoning code standards and regulations to accommodate the types of economic development activity desired by the city and making the locations identified in the opportunity areas more attractive for development. Consider allowing more approvals to be issued at the administrative level. Actions include revising the zoning code as appropriate to include new flexible standards and regulations. Consider incorporating a form-based or hybrid code for these areas. Another action is revise the zoning code as appropriate related to industrial business parks, so et cetera, et cetera. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 specific actions to tell you how to go about achieving that policy. All that's been stripped out of this. So part of this is, if it's here, there's accountability. The council could hold people accountable. I'm sorry, Margaret left. Yeah. But without that, the staff, you know, how do you know what needs to be done? Who's doing it? There's no activity.
And this is the award-winning document that's never been implemented.
That's right. So it's also, in reviewing it, it was not, most general plan elements are set up for a 20-year period. You sort of do it every 20 years. So they're updating the entire general plan. The economic development element is much broader than that and more far-reaching, and even states this is probably like a 35-year plan. So there's some commentary that things are outdated. I've heard that from more than one source, and I think that's disingenuous and doesn't represent an understanding of the element. So if anybody tells you that, if anybody says that, there's like 337 action items like I just read. The current one has like 44.
Who wrote that and when?
I believe the staff, so our staff consultant wrote it.
Have you visited with Lisa about this?
Yeah, we're doing, we have these, there are business stakeholder meetings. There've been 2 that have been held already. We weren't invited to the first one. I mean, Spark was not invited to the first one. So we were invited to the next one. And we put on the table, one of the attendees says, why do we need to change the economic development? Why don't we just implement it? And there really wasn't a good answer to that. Another question was, well, if you proceed with your economic development update, and this is approved in December like you planned, what's the standing of the economic development element written by the community? Yeah, does it have any standing? And the planner said, well, it'll become an appendix. So like an appendix is not the book, right? So I pressed on that and I said, so will it have any standing in law as a general plan? And you could tell he knew the answer because he really started to squirm.
Who's the
and at that point, the city manager stepped in and says, wait a minute, we've got to get clear on this. That was a lot of work. We don't want to reinvent this stuff. So I think just those 2 comments may have saved the EDE. And so Spark, we're reaching out to other organizations to sort of get them on board. First of all, to implement it, don't eliminate it. And to buy in on some short list of priorities so we can get the council focused on this.
I think they also committed to providing red lines from that document to show where they spread
Well, I don't know if they committed to it, so.
Sort of.
So what you see on our bylaws, you know, you've seen this in legal documents where you have strikeout language and underlined language. So part of what they say is, well, a lot of the stuff in the EDE was better in different elements, like housing should be in housing, and all that's fine. And then they said, and some stuff has disappeared. Yeah. So, by all rights, if they want transparency, they should go through that entire economic development element and disclose where these where this text went and what it looks like. Because there's no doubt in my mind they've also sort of watered this all down, you know, to make it easier on them or less commitment on the basis of the staff. So.
I feel like it's much more easier to follow the economic development element for our council, because then they could see, oh, these are the tasks, this is exactly what they need to know. This, I mean, not, the city council can't know how to do every job of, and every aspect of everything. You have to give them the literature so that they can follow through and then make sure those items have been done. Very much just like a board, which then you have your ad hoc committees, and then you report back, and then you can decide. Without having that, and then having the stripped down version, which I feel came from the first stakeholder meeting by putting stickers, okay, and I was there, that's why I say that. That's the only reason I say that, I was there, and I participated. And then I see that come, I'm like, oh, and I've been reviewing the economic development element, and then I see both of them, like, oh, this isn't, it's hard to follow. The economic development element, it's much easier to follow. I mean, I printed the entire thing, I put it in a binder, and I can actually, you can understand it, makes it very simple. If you're talking about something, you can reference it, go back to it, and easily look where you wouldn't know that, right?
Well, the economic development element was written by the community. The outreach was authentic, it was broad, it involved everybody. And it was a very gratifying moment where we had some of the draft language on the wall, and I'm overhearing somebody looking and saying, oh, they listened to us. So this was created by the community. Yeah. This was created by somebody else.
By staff or somebody.
So it's a little disappointing. But I think, to me, this illustrates, you know, the council, I'd recommend that you can't rely on the staff to do this. This is too important. You know, this involves the vision and values of the community. And the electeds, Margaret, the council, this is the job of the council to determine those values and issues, not the staff. Their job is to implement those vision and values that is articulated by the staff, particularly when they've been codified by an approval by council.
Well, I appreciate your land use
Good job.
information.
Well, I think what's important is that the council looks out and sees a collaborative effort involving the same sort of wide-based outreach that created the EDE, that we reactivate and make sure we can save that EDE. So we've got, we've been talking to the chamber, Salinas here. We've got the Central Coast Builders Exchange is bought in. We're meeting with a council member this afternoon. We've got SOBO is bought in, because they were all part of it. Building Healthy Communities we're going to meet with. So they're all authors of that economic development element.
I want to echo what Peter's just saying, that I remember when the planning was going on, all the meetings that were happening in community meetings all throughout Salinas, not just a certain part of Salinas, so it really was a community plan.
There was a reference in the economic development element to previous plans, and there's like plan after plan after plan that the city's invested money in. It's like, where are the results? They're just sitting on a shelf. Well, that's where the economic development element is headed if we don't engage. So they don't need another document. They just need to implement what they have.
So what can we do?
So I think you know, we'll get these recommendations out in this list and email. We should get on the agenda. It should be there every meeting. So at some point the board probably ought to approve this.
Right.
You're gonna comment or approve it. You can add additional ones or separate, but I think part of the point is to get, first of all, save the EDE. And next is come together, collaborate on a short list of effective items, both short-term and long-term, that the council can focus on. Because you can't do everything. You can't fix all the sidewalks in 4 years. You just have to do a little bit better. And there are actions in the economic development that can help improve that, as well as all these other considerations.
Well, if you could forward that document on to Greg and then Audrey, and then maybe what we'll do is put that on the agenda for the next meeting to, I mean, because those questions are ones that were brought up by Audrey at a previous meeting. We have now the results from that, and I think we need to discuss that and see how to continue to bring it forward and where our board stands about supporting the economic development element and how to move forward with that.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Any public comment?
Pass.
Okay. Any board questions or discussion? There's nothing to vote on that, it was just reports. So next we have action items. And let's see, it says on here, a motion to amend the budget to reflect the actual beginning balances of the accounts. So Greg, do you wanna?
Yep. So our budget we prepare in November, because our fiscal year, if you recall, begins December 1st. So we prepare a budget in November, estimating what our year-end balance is going to be. We approve it in November, and then December is when our fiscal year begins. Last year, we didn't go through and amend it, and so when it came time to the annual report, we're sending all these documents to the city, and Lisa Britton's like, hold on, none of these numbers match, I need some clarification. So all we're doing here is just now correcting our budget to reflect what the actual year-end balance was. So at the very bottom of the Excel sheet in the packet, it's that one there. It's the fourth line from the bottom is what we're amending to reflect what actually, you know, what the actual balance was at the end of the fiscal year last year. So. Unfortunately, I just thought about it now, I should have brought the old numbers what we're amending from. Overall, it's not much change. SOBO, that number's lower than what we expected. DISI's quite a bit higher because I think there was some timing on payments where some checks didn't go out until the following fiscal year. Overall, I think it's like $3,000 under, if I recall. Do you have that, Greg?
I'm looking it up right now.
So anyway, the goal here is to amend it to what's actual for our budget, so then when it comes to the annual report, the numbers from the budget to financials match up. So that's all we're doing here.
While he's looking that up, in the actuals through February?
In what?
For the actuals through the end of February? Was that reflected in there?
So it's reflected if you look in the financial reports, the carryover is correct.
Okay.
So we're not correcting the financials at all, it's just that these sort of budget aligned.
No, I get that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then in those financials, there's some pretty big positive variances.
Correct.
Do we know do we ever do any analysis to say those are gonna reverse, they're not gonna reverse for the balance of the year?
I do that kind of throughout the year, kind of where are we as we dwindle that down.
Right.
So because we get so much funding up front that we spend throughout the year, we'll have huge positive balances now as those dwindle.
But isn't that in your budget?
Correct.
So if you have a positive budget variance, some of those are temporal and some of them are permanent, right?
So as far as the positive, a lot of that's carryover from prior years. So if I'm on the same page.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to figure out if you have a positive variance, some of it's gonna turn on you and some of it's not. At the end of the year, you're gonna just have a positive variance. So it really would tell us, hey, we have some money we can either spend or we have money we can't spend.
Correct. And so we set the budget to dwindle down the prior, to have a negative variance, call it annually, to dwindle down our carryover from previously. So we're outspending with the budget what our current year income is, current year assessments.
Right.
So ideally, if we spend everything that we're budgeting here to spend.
We land on the postage stamp.
We'll be dwindling the cash balances down.
Right.
So.
I have those numbers if you want.
Perfect.
So for SOBO, current is, or actual is 77,384, and I'm showing 99,887. For DISI, I'm showing 53,694. For administration, I'm showing 19,755. And then contingency is 44,540.
So admin and contingencies were basically on par. SOBO was under, DISI was over, and so it kind of balanced out. What was the total?
217,877.
We're $3,000 under what I was projecting. So.
Just question on reading the financial statements for the budget, is that the full year budget when you're comparing it, or year-to-date budget?
This budget is what we set back in November for fiscal year.
Understood, for that whole year?
Correct.
And then like on the financial statement for February, is this, when it's comparing actual to budget, is that?
So the budget's for the full year.
Full year, okay,
Correct.
thank you, just wanted to clarify that.
So when you'll see their percent of budget remaining, you know, that number will dwindle to zero as we go through the year.
Got it, thank you.
So.
Clear as mud.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any public comment? Or further board discussion, questions? Okay, great, so then what we'll need is a motion to go ahead and pass this and move this forward.
Move approval.
Okay, great, a second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
I'll second.
I got it.
Great.
They should need it.
Okay.
So I just didn't hear you mumble it.
So, we're adjourned.
Yep.
All right.